our blue shirts would come up to the stage. Was anybody looking at Vivian? Miss Vivian, raise your hand. When we were singing praise and worship, we were singing "We Fall Down" and she about fell down. And then I botched the very simple instructions that Miss Donna did spend several minutes going over with me step by step. It's a good thing God loves messed up people. That's all he's got to work with. And there's a lot of theological truth in that. And this team behind me that you see, they've been having that imparted to them this week. Because they've not just been ministering, but they've been getting ministered to. The people you see behind me are a part of our team. Last Sunday morning, while you were in this very place, a lot of you, we were on I-95 booking it north to get to Richmond and then take a left turn and go a long way west as part of our Collide mission team. We had 4 middle schoolers, 11 high schoolers, which is tremendous, 11 high schoolers, and then 4 adults who went together and to go up to Greenbrier County, West Virginia for a week of ministry. And before we tell you any further, microphone 2. To you and tell you who they are and a little bit about themselves and what their role was in the trip this week. Y'all remember from this morning? Same thing.
I'm Matthew. I'm going to be a senior this year, and I was on Flex Team, Alpha Team, because there was three teams, and I was on Team Alpha. And my parents are Julie in the back, and my dad is hiding behind the cameras in the sound booth. He's John.
I'm Jessica Phillips, and I was on the campsite, and I work with the little children, and I'm going to be a freshman, and my parents are Tammy Hooks and Johnny Phillips.
I'm Brandon Scott. I was on the Flex Team Alpha, and I will be a sophomore, and my mother is Lisa Rogers.
I'm Riley, and I am 13, and I'm going to be a freshman, and I was on the day camp team.
My name is Lisa Rogers. I was on the Gamma Flex team. I was a driver to the campsite and helped prepare lunch for the Flex teams.
I'm Audria Johnson. I'll tell you my kids, Samantha, Summer, Savannah, and Christopher, not my parents. I was group leader for our group at one of the mobile home parks. Is that it all for me?
My name's Dara. I will be in 7th grade. I was on the Beta team, and we painted and went to the nursing home. My parents are Tanya and Steve Sanderson.
My name is Abby Bass. My parents are Brent and Shannon Bass. I'm going to 9th grade. I was on the Flex Team Gamma. We painted houses and we pulled weeds and yeah.
I'm Savannah Johnson. I'm going to 9th grade. My parents are Audria and Roger Johnson, and I was on the Flex Team Gamma.
I still ain't used to that. I'm Austin, and my parents is right over there. Paul and Phyllis, some of them. And I was on the Flex Team Alpha, and I'm going into 8th grade.
And there's 7 more of us who are not here. 3 of our team actually was unable to be here today at all, And then there was 3 or 4 more that they were able to be here for first service but couldn't stay for the second service. But there were 18 of us that got to spend this week together. We were one of 5 other churches. It was not just us. We were one of 5. There was over 80 folks total, divided up into 7 teams. There were 4 day camp teams working at sites each day to minister to children and to get to know their families, hopefully. And then there were the 3 flex or the work teams doing a little bit of everything, but definitely some manual labor projects, a lot of painting, a lot of building, a lot of cleanup, and then a couple of them did do some visitation. And so, we got up there as a church group, but then, during the week, they were not just working every day just with folks from KMBC. They were getting to meet folks there was 2 churches from Greensboro, North Carolina, a church from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, a church, actually one of the local churches in West Virginia sent some kids to participate. And so that was a neat thing. They had, I think, 5 kids from their youth group who were working at their church, because that day campsite is to reach a trailer park that is right beside their church, literally right beside their church. So, everybody else who was there had to say goodbye and leave and come home. Those kids are still at their church today. And so if they see any of those other kids we work with, they can say, hey, thanks for coming, and develop those relationships. On our shirts, you see the word Collide. Collide is the name of the mission camp that we participated in, and it's sponsored by Cross Culture Ministries. And this was the 9th year. If they added it up right, they think this was the 9th year that it has been in existence. And it started out 9 years ago with one church group of a few volunteers. It started out with 3 guys doing a day camp at a public park. And then it followed that up with one church group coming in. And now it's grown this year to 6 churches and over 80 participants. Collide, the imagery behind it is that a bunch of teenagers come into this experience and they have their expectations and they have their wants. And through the course of 5 days, they are facing multiple collisions. And a lot of them, the collisions start on the first night we're there when they realize this is not my bedroom. And there's a lot of other people in this tight space. And you mean I got to share a bathroom? And I've got to wait to use the bathroom or to take my shower or whatever? A lot of them have collisions when they realize they're going to be doing something out of their comfort zone, or when they realize they're not going to be with their church group that they rode in these vans for 6 hours with. They're getting separated and they've got to meet new people. Sometimes you have collisions when, hey, it's a little bit hot, it's a little bit humid, this work is not easy, these kids are not behaving. But the goal is that by the end of that experience that we will be thinking and making decisions based on what they're asking me to do and not what I want. And so you hope those collisions have a positive impact. And so that's what Collide means. Collide is not about going somewhere and us telling Bible stories and playing kickball and painting a house and then 4 days later saying, peace out, back to North Carolina. It's about us going and partnering with local churches in that area of West Virginia, and for 4 or 5 days, we are basically free labor to them. We're a free resource that we come in and we are trying to help them to reach their own communities. And if all we do is 4 or 5 days of spending a little time there and then we head out and nothing else happens, we have failed and those churches there have failed. And so, Brother Dale, I'll tell you a little bit more about him in a minute, but his ministry's vision is to allow those churches for us to come in and help them to reach their communities. And we hope that by 4 or 5 days of work, we give them a jump start or a head start or some momentum for what's going to happen there the next 51 weeks. We want to help them reach families that will plug into their church and stay there, and that's the goal. Some churches haven't quite made that connection yet. The pastor might be there, the youth pastor might be there, but the people aren't quite there. And so we come alongside and we try to help that pastor kind of get his people to see the vision and to get motivated. Sometimes it might be the people they have the understanding, but they don't realize they should be doing the work. We might go to a church and the folks serve the teams lunch, but the teams are still out there doing the work. And so where we want to get those churches to is, hey, you should be the ones out here playing the games and teaching the lessons and leading the worship. You should be doing this camp to reach these kids, and then we'll move on to another place. And so it's a process, and sometimes it's a long process, but that's what it's about. Cross Culture Ministries is the ministry of a good friend of mine, Dale Elwell, and it's in its 18th year of existence. And currently, Cross Culture has two main arms. One is the Collide camps that we did this week. And it's not just a week, it's a year-round planning and organizing process. This year, there were actually two Collide camps. There was our week in West Virginia, which was the largest ever. But then there was also a week in Greensboro, North Carolina, where two churches sent teenagers to work in inner city Greensboro at a Boys and Girls Club for a week. And the goal next year is to expand that to 2 weeks of camp at multiple locations in Greensboro, in addition to the West Virginia week. And then on the horizon are international mission trips with Collide to Honduras or to Jamaica. And that would require students and adults to go through at least one trip to West Virginia and one trip to Greensboro to kind of build them up for that. And so that may not be next year, but in the next 2 or 3 years, that is the goal, is to have West Virginia Collide, Greensboro Collide, and Jamaica or Honduras Collide. Cross Culture, the focus of it currently is in ministering to youth. It means the culture of the cross, impacting the world through the culture of the cross of Jesus Christ. And their mission statement is to impact students with that culture. Their philosophy is that, number one, they want to point teenagers to faith in Christ. They want to lead them to that faith. They want to, number two, help them grow in that faith, to become mature, to become discipled. And then number three, to plug those teenagers, wherever they're at, into a local church somewhere so they can continue to grow and they can use their gifts that God's given them to serve in ways just like these behind you have served us this week. It is a ministry that is designed to make the local church stronger. Wherever Cross Culture goes, it is designed to help that local church or those churches in that area. The other arm of the ministry, Dale does a lot of weekend retreats, conferences, things like that, spending time with individual youth groups. Excuse me. We've had him here 2 or 3 times over the past 5 years, and he's got a relationship with our youth group, and he's just a really solid man of God. He is a wise teacher, an effective teacher, and he's got a heart for teenagers and a heart for the local church. And so that's what we've been about this week. This is our second year doing missions through Camp Collide and Cross Culture Ministries up in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. And it was a fun time. It was a blessed time. And I want to give some of these behind me a chance to share how God spoke to them or how God worked through them this week. And I hope that your hearts and minds will be open to letting God speak through them to speak to you. Who would like to go first? Thank you, Jessica, for volunteering.
My name is Jessica. Oh yeah, we already introduced ourselves. But, the first day we got to our campsite, it looked like a small church and all. And there was literally a trailer park right beside the church. And I mean, it was rows of trailers, like maybe four rows up the mountain. And Mr. Daniel, the guy with no arms, told us to go find some kids and knock on the doors. So I get with 2 other kids, and the people that were in my group were Casey and Valerie. And they're not here right now, but they were in my group. But I get 2 other people, and we go to this one house, and they have a lot of bikes in the yard, so we were curious, so we just knocked on the door, and 3 little girls come up the door, and we're like, we're going to go play some games and worship and all, and we asked them if they wanted to come, and they turned around to their dad, and he looked like there was something wrong with him. But anyways, and they were like, Daddy, please, can we go? And he was like, I don't know, we're going to have to talk to your mama. So we told him that we'd come back later. Well, we got back to the church, and I saw a little girl standing on her porch, and she was trying to get a bike down the stairs. And I walked up to her, and her name was Jada. And I said, hey, do you want to come and play with us and worship with us and all? She was like, yeah, hold on, let me ask my dad. So she came out. She was all ready to go. It took her dad a few minutes to decide to let her go because he looked out the window. I saw him. And she came out, and she was wearing shorts, a T-shirt, and these 3 to 4 inch wedge heels. And I was like, why is she wearing those heels? But anyways, and we got to the churchyard, and all of a sudden 3 little girls come along, and it was the girls that we had went and told them about what we were doing. And they came out, and they were like, yeah, we're ready. And they were ready to play and all. And the only one that paid attention out of those 4 girls was really Ariana. And the other 2 little girls were Alexa and Mara. And so Ariana was the only one that paid attention during the lessons and all that we told. And I actually got to lead a lesson, so that was cool. And, well, Mara and Alexa were the ones that were, like, the most hyper ones, and they wanted to do this, or if they didn't do it, they didn't want to do anything else. And they would make you put them on your backs and carry them around wherever you went, so that was pretty fun. And it just seemed while we were there, the only one that really cared was Ariana. But Jada, we figured out, but by I don't know what day it was, but we figured out that was the only pair of shoes she had. And you could tell that she's had them for a while because she was running in those things, and I would have broke my neck if I'd done that. But so Mr. Daniel, he went and got her some new pairs of shoes, and he got her some flip-flops and some Skechers shoes, and they were really cute. They were purple, and I really wanted them, but can't always have my way. But and she got them, and just the joy, the look on her face was priceless. I mean, just to see that it meant a lot to her, it was nice. And Wednesday, I think it was, during lunch, we had Sloppy Joes that day, and I started talking to Ariana, the one that really only listened to what you said. So I figured I'd talk to her a little bit, and I led her to Christ that day. And throughout the week, I saw her grow, and I saw me grow, actually, in faith. And the last day, we had a community-wide worship service at Greenbrier Middle School. And we didn't advertise it a lot through the week, so we were praying that a lot of people would be there. And we had a pretty good amount of people that were there. And at the end, Ariana came up to me, and she was like, she handed me this clay thing right here. And I asked her, I was like, what is it? And she said, it's a flower. And I was like, oh, is it for me? She's like, yeah. And she's like, I don't want you to forget me. And I was like, I won't. And I started crying a little bit. And I gave her my bandana in exchange because I didn't want her to forget me either. And at the end, we went up to all the kids. We went up to Mara, or Ariana, Alexa, and Jada, and we all gave them hugs. And just to see Alexa and Mara start crying, it was a blessing because we knew that we were a blessing to them for being there, and they didn't want us to leave and all. And I went up to Jada, and I gave her a hug, and I said, well, I guess this is a goodbye. And she was like, why? And I was like, because I have to leave. She said, why you have to leave? I said, because I have to. I got to go back to my hometown. And she said, but I don't want you to leave. What am I going to do? And I said, I don't know. And, well, all I want to say today was it was a true blessing to see all those kids really want you to stay and wanted you to be their friends. And all they really wanted was attention. I mean, and it makes me realize that we take a lot of things for granted that we don't need to. And I recommend, if you didn't go this year, I recommend you to go next year. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. You need to go. And that's all I want to say.
That little girl was playing kickball in wedge heels. Any ladies want to try that? I mean, me and Vivian can't stand up in flat shoes, you know. I mean, she won't just play, and I mean, that girl was running, sprinting in wedge heels. If she hadn't said anything else but that she had the opportunity to lead a child to Christ, man, that was worth it all right there. Forget the attachment and the emotion, you know, that right there, that one and that happened at lunchtime. That wasn't during an invitation or a Bible story. Over Sloppy Joe's, a girl wanted to accept Christ. So praise the Lord for that. To describe that site where Jessica was working at, imagine Mr. Parnell's trailer park. Most of you know where that is, over on Princeton-Kinley Road there. Multiply it by 2, 2.5, and then put it right beside our church, literally right beside our church. And that's the dynamic. And one of the obstacles there is that through the years, the people in that church have not made it a priority to connect with the residents in that mobile home park. Well, now they've got a pastor and a youth pastor who've got that vision. You know, if we're not reaching the people who are literally in our backyards, then what are we doing? And a few people in the congregation are starting to understand, and they're starting to buy into that vision. And there are a lot of kids out in that trailer park, and each year a few more of them come out and come out and come out. And those kids, man, they are a tight-knit bunch. They spend all summer together, and I mean, they look out for each other. They've got each other's backs. And each year, the little kids will plug into Awana. The youth will plug into the youth group, and then eventually most of them kind of fade out. And then next summer it's camp week, and they get back and plug in again. And each year they stay a little bit longer, a little bit longer. The goal is that they will become part of that church, and not just the kids, but their moms and dads. Those 3 girls that Jessica was describing, they've been in the area for a while, but the church has never been able to make a connection. Well, this week, they walked those girls home and got an address to take back to church. So now, if we don't see the kids out in the neighborhood, we can go knock on the door and say, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, come to church, come join us. And so it's slow, but that's what it's about, is making those connections. And I appreciate Jessica's heart so much and her willingness to share that. She sent me a text message, and you know, they're not supposed to be using their phones during the day, but that was okay. She sent me a text message, I led a girl to Christ at lunchtime. And that was a message I was glad to get that day. All right, who next? I feel like I'm at day camp. She's got to use the bathroom.
My name is Dara, for those of you who don't know me. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I was at a lady's house painting. Well, her husband died about 2 years ago of cancer. Her sister died about 3 years ago of cancer. And we were painting a room for her son because he was coming home. He's in the Army, and his health is getting really bad, and they don't know how long he's going to be here or anything. And we were painting, and we were like wondering why she wanted 2 walls white and 2 walls red. And we were just like really wondering. So we went and asked her. Well, the reason they were red and white was because her son likes strawberries, but he's allergic to strawberries, so he can't eat them. And so we painted the room, and I finished my side, and I went out and started talking to her. And she was talking and showing pictures and all. And she said that somebody that she knew had taken his kids and put them up for sale. And it really, like, made her heartbroken when she hears somebody's putting their kids up for sale. So then Tuesday came along, and we went and we ate lunch with her, and it was really a blessing. And we finished the inside and started on the outside. Well, the outside, she wanted the whole house yellow and the shutters red. So we painted and did that. And then we kept asking her if we could paint like the door red, and she's always like, I don't really care because I'm not really going to be seeing it. And so we did everything. And Wednesday we were joined by by Abby's group and Savannah's group, and they came and helped us, and we had fun. Well, Wednesday was our really big day. We had a paint fight, and some of us still have a little bit of paint on us, but we had a lot of fun. Well, Thursday, it really, really got to me. We went to a nursing home, and the lady that talked to us has gone all around the world. She was a missionary. She is 72 years old, and the only reason she's in a nursing home is because she fell and messed up her knee. She said if she could ever get her knee back right, she would start doing missionary again, being a missionary again, because she loves going around and talking to other people. And so we talked to her, and she was really, really interesting. So really the only thing I wanted to say was that some people, no matter how old they are, they always have a story. No matter how old, you may not like them, they may stink. They have a good story inside their heart for the reason they do what they do. So.
I have a cute story about Dara. Too late. Mr. Dale is very big on students are doing the work. This is a student mission camp, and he puts adults in place to equip and train and teach. But this week he had to fuss at some of the adults a couple times, like, hey, when you get out there, don't do the work for them. If you see they're not, you get them straightened out. You figure out what they need, but you let them do the work. Now, sometimes that might mean something doesn't go as good as it could, or we would like, because an adult could step in and do it, and we wouldn't miss a beat. But what does that accomplish in the long run? We are giving these kids responsibility. Well, part of that responsibility for the worship service on Thursday night was that the kids are the counselors. And so they went through some training about how to counsel and what to do and what not to do, and taking them through the steps. And we had no idea what to expect. You know, is there going to be a few people that come down to the front? Is there going to be nobody? Is there going to be dozens of people? Well, you know, we were prepared just in case. I mean, we had, you know, probably 35 or 40 students who were willing to counsel somebody if we needed that many. Well, it was not a big rush to the front during the invitation. But the first person that came up, boy, Dara Sanderson, was bound and determined she was going to talk to somebody. And as soon as she saw somebody, she got there before that girl did. Like, I'm going to talk to somebody. Like, come on. And Dara's the youngest person on our team. And she was that eager to make sure that she was able to share and to experience that. And that made me smile on my face and in my heart. So. Who next?
Okay, so at the beginning of this week, I really did not want to go. I had kind of like a Jonah story, like with the whale. And at the beginning of this week, I did not want to go at all. I did not want to get out of the air conditioning. I want to sleep in my own bed because these beds look like they were on display at Walmart. They were about this big. And so I get there and we're, unpacking stuff, getting used. And I was like, hey, I guess this ain't as bad as I thought. And then going on through the week, Mr. Daniel Ritchie drives a 15-passenger van up there with no arms, just his feet. And he preaches and does some other stuff. He does the day camp and stuff like that. And I'm like, if he can do that, why am I to tell God no, that I don't want to go? Because I did not want to go. And I was like, why am I to tell God if he can do that? Why am I to tell him that I don't want to do this, God? You go pick somebody else. I don't want to. So that's kind of my story.
This young man is sitting beside his mother, and honestly, the reason she got on the youth committee is because when Brandon got into 6th grade, she was scared that if she wasn't there to watch out for him, then somebody else would kill him. Brandon was labeled, was it ADHD when he was younger? And when he was, literally, he was like who has seen the movie Flubber or The Absent-Minded Professor? He was like that Flubber, like you bounce it once and this, going. And we were talking about that on the van trip back the other day with the guys. It's like, man, you're not even, nobody would know now. And you can say this, and the doctor, this guy right here is, God has done a work in him and the maturity, and he's a worker. And the first day of camp, his team leader came back to me, and he said, Andy, I want to tell you, the kids from your church, man, they did it. They were going all day. And I know that they're workers, and they set the example. And the fact that he just got a microphone and spoke to you and shared that is another huge deal, because that's not something Brandon likes to do. How many of you have seen Mr. Daniel, the guy with no arms? He drives better than most of us. Now, I'm going to have to get on him. Our group stayed behind. We were the last group to leave on Friday morning because we helped Mr. Dale clean up a few things and get straight, and had to blow up inflate a tire on the van a little bit more, and so we were about an hour behind. Well, we're trucking along in Virginia on 64, heading back this way, and then as timing has it, their group had stopped for lunch, the Wilson group, and they pull on the interstate right in front of us. I'm like, there's Wilson. And so, we've got speed, so we're like coming up past them, and they see us as we see them, and there's a foot sticking out the window waving. And it didn't hit me at the moment, but about 20 minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute. Dude ain't got no arms. And if you're going to drive without arms, you need both feet to drive. So if one of your feet is out here, what were you doing? I'm guessing he's got some good knees or something, but seriously, I'm not, I don't exaggerate. He drives better than most of us with only 2 feet. And Brandon is not the only person to be affected in that way. If he can do those things, then we can too. I won't make Matt talk again, but I do want to share something. You'll talk?
Okay, so I went this week thinking I would have to learn how to do new things because I was with Brandon and Austin and 3 other girls from a different church. Well, the first place, we went to 2 places, and the first place we went to, we had to do painting, and I used 2 of my talents this week, and one of them was painting because my mom basically taught me how to paint, so that was one. And the second one, believe it or not, I had to go without electronics the whole week because this monster over here said no iPods or iPads, and that's what I have. But fortunately, there's this guy that's at a different church. He was one of the leaders, and last year he made slideshows every night we had our worship service, and he made me do that. So I got to do that. I got to play with a Mac every day of the week. So that's talent number 2 I did. So that's all I had to say.
We're trying to give history away. That's Mr. Dale's goal. I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Andy, and I'm going to be in 7th grade. But my role this week is I had a different role from the other youth ministers. I was actually the assistant director for the whole camp. So for several months now, I've been doing a lot of phone calling and emailing to churches, whatever Dale needs to get informed or whatever he needs to get back from them, helping with logistics, kind of being a buffer, handling the complaints and little problems that come up, reminding people of the rules, make sure your shorts are long enough, make sure you're at the meal on time, quit doing this, I was kind of the principal this week so that Dale could focus on being the missionary, the pastor, the spiritual leader, the visionary. And, he's given that away. She mentioned, Dale didn't preach every night. Mr. Daniel preached a couple of nights. He's giving it away. Well, Matthew making slideshows, that's something we're trying to give away. Because if somebody goes out and leads a team all day and comes back to camp and he got to spend an hour at a computer getting a slideshow ready, that's difficult. Matthew loves doing that. And it was Tuesday night, Matthew made the comment, and he said, I know how to do two things really well. I know how to paint, and I know how to use technology. And I'm getting to use both of them this week. And I'm like, boom, Matthew, you get it. That's God gave you gifts, and we're using them. Boom. Some of us need to get that, but that's preachy. Anybody else? Y'all looking at each other, elbowing each other. Going once. Uh-oh.
I just want to share with y'all that with our group where we stayed, there was 2 other churches that stayed with us, and one of them just had 2 girls with them, and they were from West Virginia. And years ago, they went to the day camps, and this was their first year assisting with making the day camps take place. And I thought that was a real blessing that they were able to transplace from attending the day camp to helping it take place.
There were about 18 or 20 decisions this week from kids to accept Christ at the day camps. But what she's talking about, the day camp that was the original day camp, there's a public park next to the river, and it's just down the hill from the local church there. And that pastor's been, trying to run this thing for years. And he's got a lot of volunteers who will help out in support roles, but he needs the Collide team to come in and be the music and the recreation and the small groups and just kind of keeping it operating. But these 2 girls got saved through Collide camps, and they went to that local pastor and to Mr. Dale, and they're like, this camp changed our life. It affected us, and we'd like to have that chance. Can we please participate? And so they came on and joined in. And so they got blue shirts, and they were sleeping at the camp and doing what we were. And so I'm so proud of Miss Lisa. Miss Lisa does not like to drive on wide, straight, flat roads during the daytime. But this week, she had to drive on West Virginia mountain roads even at nighttime and did a wonderful job. And, she was not comfortable, but she never let anybody know. And by the end of the week, she felt a lot more confident. And God helped her overcome those fears. Going once. Going twice. All right, Miss Audrey, you finish this up. I didn't ask you what you'd planned.
They are so mean. Well, lots of times, too. I had to drive up there while we were there and back, so they did drive me crazy. The blessing that I got this week really wasn't about me. The Lord led me to go. It's my first trip, mission trip myself. But as the week was going and I was watching the youth do what God had called them to do, that's where my blessing came in. And we had our get-together Wednesday or Thursday night, and Andy had asked us to, share. This was about the youth. It wasn't about the adults. And as I sat there listening to them and listening to their testimonies, the Lord moved me because I sat there listening and listening. So I stood up and said, okay, I'm an adult. I'm not supposed to talk, but I'm going to. I had to apologize to all, I don't know how many were kids, 65 or 70 of them. I had to apologize for my thoughts, my beliefs, and my opinion about teenagers. You know, I've said it 1,000 times. I come in here on Wednesday nights to do Bible study, and you know what I hear? Through the walls. Do y'all hear the music through the walls? So I just, thought socializing, this, that, and the other. But these guys showed me that the Lord works through them just as much as he does through us, the adults. I think sometimes we don't look at them with the respect that they could be, valuable resources to share God's word in our community. So it was a blessing to see them stand up and grow and share God's word and not be scared, not be ashamed, not be nervous. So I gave them a challenge that the work they'd done there and the words they'd used there and the Lord using their gifts for them to bring them home and do it here. So I just ask us as a congregation, and I didn't say this at first service, and I meant to. I ask us as a congregation to embrace these 18 kids that went with us and not look at them as immature teenagers who were just there to serve themselves, because these guys prove they're not. Let us respect them and use them. Give them credit for what they can do. And they just blessed me more than I ever thought they could. I was impressed.
Now, these same kids might be the same ones having a garden pea fight at Wednesday night supper this week. But it's a good thing God loves flawed people, because we're who he's got to work with. A point that I have been making for years, and that these students got reinforced to them this week: this is not the church of tomorrow. They are a part of the church of today, just like all of you are. We are the church today. The church is made up of all ages. The church is not about getting to a certain stage in life where you can have a title and a position. The church is the body of Christ, and we're all a part of that body, including these back here. And we've got a lot of kids, a lot of students who are part of our youth group, and some of you who are part of our church now because they started coming to youth with a friend. They started visiting. And then they realized, hey, we like it here, and they got mom and dad to come and check it out, and then they stuck around. Matter of fact, if I remember, Miss Audrey, that's was sort of a connection y'all had, was a lot of Savannah's friends. And then Roger and I came to a Dance for God one night, and it was like, check this church out. That's what we're about. I want to plant a seed with you. There's a logic, there's a method to the madness of what we do each summer. And some of you hear about things, but you don't know what goes on. But this year will be our 4th year in a row where we've gone on a mission trip somewhere, and then we come back to Kinley and we do a backyard Bible club at a neighborhood here in town. The value of a mission trip and going off, besides being fun, is that you develop some chemistry and some camaraderie. You get some energy and excitement, and you realize, hey, I can do this. And then my job is to kind of make those dots connect and say, hey, now let's go home and do it. And let's do it in the community we live. Let's do it with the kids you go to school with, or that you will see in Food Lion and Dollar General. Let's go love on them the same way we loved in West Virginia, and try to get them to come and be a part of us 52 weeks out of the year. And that's a process as well. But ultimately, that's what we're about. And being the church, man, there are some obstacles to overcome, because sometimes we don't feel comfortable being in church with people that we don't know really well. And if we start reaching out to these neighborhoods, it's possible that somebody's going to come into this church who their kids are a little bit wild and rambunctious, and they might say some words they ought not to say. Or they might be running up and down or jumping over the chairs during the service when we're trying to have special music or a prayer. Or they might not wear the same clothes, and they might not smell quite as nice. Maybe they need a bath. Maybe they're from a different background. Maybe they are rougher around the edges. But isn't that what we should be about? We are all on equal footing here, and if we ever think that we've got some kind of advantage or a status over somebody else, then we've got a problem in our own hearts. Man, we are one body, and our goal is to bring as many people into that body, no matter who they are or where they're from. It doesn't matter what struggles or addictions they've got. It doesn't matter what kind of troubles they're going through with their families, with their relationships, with their kids. It doesn't matter what they're wearing or what neighborhood they live in or how much brown is in their skin or how much is not in their skin. We ought to be smiling anytime anybody comes and joins us once, and we ought to be trying to make every effort to make them feel so loved they want to keep coming back. And that's what the purpose of Collide is. And each year I see a few more students get it and start connecting more of those dots. And coming up in August, August 11th through the 14th, we're going to be doing our Backyard Bible Club again this year over in Lincoln Park, Monday through Thursday night that week. And we want as many people to come out as possible. And it might be that, hey, you can help serve some hot dogs or, some lemonade. It might be that you can serve some snow cones or some cotton candy. You might can paint a kid's nails or put a little paint on their face or do a tattoo on their arm. You might can play a little bit of kickball or play some games. You might just have to run around, push them on a swing. It might be that you just kind of stand around with your arms folded and just, man, this is nice. And then you see mom and dad are over there on the other side watching their little kid play. And you go up and you strike up a conversation with them. You get to know them. And maybe through the course of that, you can say, hey, we'd love for you to come to church with us any Sunday you can. And you might be the, maybe you just help load tables and chairs in and out of a truck or, it doesn't matter. The first year we did that, we did a block party. I bet we had 60 people from this church out there at one night. There wasn't enough work to be done, but that's all right. There's something for you to do somewhere, and whether it's at a Backyard Bible Club or somewhere else. God's given you gifts, and he wants us all to put those gifts into the pot so that we can be as effective and efficient, as strong as we can be in reaching others on the outside of our walls to bring them in. And this week, these blue shirts, that's what it's about. It's just a small representation that we hope will set the pattern for what these students are going to be doing for the rest of their lives, but that they can bring back here and be a part of this church body and what we're trying to do in Kenly, North Carolina, USA. Pray for them. Pray for them. Any Wednesday night, if you're waiting for George to get his Bible study started or for your small group to start, I challenge you to come down this hall and just peek in the door and listen to what's going on. Because that music that's booming, those kids are praising and worshiping. They're not just being loud to be loud. Every Wednesday night, we are praising and worshiping before we do our message. And, don't overlook them, just as they should not be overlooking you. Miss Margaret, we were joking this morning about her having a birthday. And, the ones on the young end feel like they're being squeezed out. And those of you who are senior citizens feel like you are being squeezed out. And then it's the 30 through 50-somethings that are running everything. We're all one church. All of us. And that's what we need to be.